Hello, Internet. Welcome to the first episode, and there will be many, of a new playlist we created, which is called Younger for Longer. Now, I think all of you will agree that not all of us are as fit as we used to be. In fact, a lot of us has become quite fat, quite overweight, including myself. I'm cycling 10 kilos a day now, trying to lose a bit of weight. Because it does have an influence on your life, it will shorten your life. You will spend less time with your grandkids, less time with your wife because you will be dead. And forgive me if I'm very direct, but that's what it's heading to. We need to start taking care of our bodies. So luckily, my friend Kevin Johnson with Frans van Staden, they started a program. They have a lot of people joining. It's totally a volunteer thing. If you want to do it, you're welcome. You can just join up. It's on the WhatsApp group. I will give you the links in the description. And they sent me their first video where they discuss this mental attitude to change your lifestyle, to change, to become something more than what you were, and to make your future more bright than what it was. So I hope you enjoy this. As I said, totally voluntarily. Those who's participating are already seeing the results. So let us hear what they have to say. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this brief session about the 8 freedoms. I have the privilege of introducing Kevin Johnson, a friend and colleague from the military. And Kevin has done some amazing work in his life after the military. And he's going to share some of that with us this afternoon. So, Kevin, tell me, what did you do in the military, and what did you do afterwards?
Well, I was a sergeant at 3-2 Battalion in Charlie Company. And then I decided, I must go and get a little bit of a taste of the business world, because I realized I couldn't go back to one of the units in South Africa, just I wasn't cut out for that. So anyhow, I found myself a job at Barclays then, Westbank Asset Finance. And I must say, they put me on one of these advanced management programs. But, at essence, I was entrepreneurial. So I was always at the coalface, chasing production figures, my own figure. Then I started to look after people. And then, we got all our business off these big showroom floors, Toyota, BMW. And then I came across, an opportunity there with a colleague of mine at Westbank, where we thought, gosh, the dealer could be making a lot more money if he was a lot more wise about finance and insurance, rather than the bank sort of having the captive high ground and enjoying most of the profits. So, we found a dealer group that was prepared to employ us. We went there and we implemented, and it became a success. Unfortunately, the gentleman that owned it passed away very quickly of cancer, only after 8 months, and that was the catalyst to us going out self-employed. And we had a fantastic run there in South Africa, manning hundreds of dealership floors. And eventually, after 3.5 years, Westbank actually became a 50% shareholder in the business, because they saw this whole thing fitting in strategically into their business. And then this went on for 14 years and that. And then I sold my shares, the last bit of my shares in the business, and my wife wanted to immigrate. So I landed up here in the UK. And after doing a bit of consultancy work for a year or two, I went into e-commerce, because it was pretty new over here. E-commerce means you sell things over the internet, using technology, direct to the end user. And then, Hollard Insurance had a international arm, and they became a shareholder in the business. That thing ran for about 12, 13 years. And then I started to hang out with these serial entrepreneurial people in the United States. And the one introduced to me the concept of longevity. And I became very fascinated about it. And I came to the realization that, if you want to make dramatic changes in your life, you've got to change your mindsets. And so learning in the 2 or 3 years out of the longevity mindsets, I actually conceptualized the idea of actually getting into the business and selling mindset scorecards for a living.
Obviously, you developed the 8 health freedoms, Kevin.
Yes.
And what is the background to those freedoms?
Well, in hanging out with these serial entrepreneurial people, some of them actually being longevity doctors, I started to realize that if you change the way if you change the way you think, okay, you could improve your health dramatically. Not that I actually had problems with my health, but if you could change your thinking, the game's on. And then I started to acquire some mentors that were in that space. And then when I decided to invest into a software company to create mindset scorecards, okay, that's when I decided, right, I actually have to now take all my knowledge that I'm learning and put it into mindsets that are unique to me on my journey, okay, when it comes to longevity. And that's how the whole concept of these 8 health freedoms was conceptualized. They're mine personally. I've never monetized that. It's not part of my business, okay? But it happens to be a mindset scorecard on health for myself.
And tell me, Kevin, how do the 8 mindsets or the 8 health freedoms then work?
Well, what I basically did is I took all the knowledge that I had acquired, and I came to the conclusion that there were 8 that were important. And then what I did is I said to myself, okay, if I'm really, because one thing about mindsets, okay, it's qualitative. So you'll see like good sleeping, well, that's a mindset, and you say, yeah, I'm okay at it, or I'm good at it. That's qualitative. But when you actually score yourself, like you give yourself a 1 or a 10, then it becomes quantitative. And then you can also see the difference between where you are, where you'd like to be. And that somehow registers in the mind, okay, you need to now take action to bridge the gap. So what I did is I spoke to a guy who had come up with some scorecards for himself, and I reached the conclusion that the best method to use would be to say, the one column would be you're crap at it. Let's take sleeping as an example. So there you could say, you're bad, you're weak, you're struggling, or you're a failure. And then the second column, it's like you're frustrated. You should be doing something, but you're just frustrated. And then the third one is based on your upbringing and your education and what's the private health company might say to you. So, that could be defined as like sort of conventionally successful. You then get the fourth column, which is like, I want to be a game changer, or I really want to be transformational. In other words, I want to optimize my sleeping. So then what I did is I actually came up with a definition for each of them. So you've got a mindset. I've got 8 of them. And I've got 4 definitions for each of them. And then you measure yourself. Where are you? So you might measure yourself as, I'm in the category of struggling, first column. And where would you like to be? I'd like to be in the fourth column. Then you score yourself for fourth column, and then you can see the difference between the two. And then based on the difference of two, you can start taking actions every quarter.
So would you like to take us just through those 8 dimensions of the 8 health freedoms? Just so that the audience can just know what you're going to focus on.
Yeah. So the very first one,
health freedom.
The very first one was given to me by a very good guy, Dan Sullivan, that's in the longevity space. And he basically came up with the idea 25 years ago that he would like to live a whole century, but not part of one century into the next century, but the whole century. So he already was way into the previous century. So he said, well, I want to live the whole of the 21st century. So if he took his years that he lived in the previous century and this year, which is this century, 100 years, he came out at 156 or 157. And I was absolutely fascinated by that. And he got me to do an exercise, and then I became even more fascinated. And I was convinced that this thing had legs. So I went off and I did it. And I discovered within 2 quarters that it was actually having an impact on how I think, behave, okay, in the present. So I got the spin off immediately. Now, I know when you give yourself those extended years to live, in the conventional way, people say, but that's impossible. No one's got there. Well, here's the key. You're getting the spin off immediately, and the number is just an imaginary number. You know, you mustn't harp too much on that big number. It's the immediate benefits that it's giving you now. And then the rest starts to fall into place. So that was obviously the first one. The second one was obviously something that I came up with, which was to say, because I'm into longevity, I want to live longer, I want to live healthier. My head thinks like that now because I'm 21 quarters into it. So my eyes are seeing and my ears are picking up all technologies that can help you to live longer. So that would be the second mindset. Then the third mindset is I've got 2 mentors that are professors, sleep scientists. So the third mindset is, sleep. And then obviously the fourth one is all things nutrition. And then we move on to all things exercising. And then we move on to, the power, both physically and mentally, when it comes to meditation and visualization. And then the other one that helps with longevity, and this was basically consensus reached over a long period of time by at least 200 people practicing longevity, that freedom through purpose, having purpose in life, the type of relationships you have, the freedom of time, and the freedom of money, definitely contribute towards living a lot longer. Now, in my people that I hang out with, we're all entrepreneurial. So the guys that are practicing this longevity, even so, some of them are exceptionally wealthy. One of the things you don't do in your journey to live as long as possible is you don't start switching things off, so you don't retire. So one of the immediate reactions to that, Frans, is, well, what happens if it's stressful and that? Well, I'm not expecting you to live in a stressful way and then at the same time try to live longer. So obviously you've got to find something that fascinates and motivates you and, you don't stress. So that was that one. And then we move on to the last one, which is an acronym I came up with. GROW, grow. G stands for goal. What do you want and why do you want it when you're looking at the previous mindsets? What is the result going to look like? What's a bad result? What's a good result? That's the R. And then the O is what are the obstacles that are holding you back? And the W is you learn to reframe the question. Instead of saying, how am I going to do the above? You ask yourself, who's going to help you?
You mentioned that you've completed 21 quarters with 8 Health Freedoms.
Yes.
So how does a quarter work, and take us through also the benefits that you've derived thus far?
Yeah. So what I'd basically do is when I come to the end of each quarter, I'd measure myself where I am on the 8, where I'd like to be, and then I go to that last mindset, which is GROW, and then I set a goal. I get what I want, why I want it, what type of result, what's it going to look like. And then immediately I say to myself, okay, what are the obstacles and who's going to help me? So that I do every quarter, and I've done that for 21 quarters. So the benefits, okay, are obviously, a simple thing like the investment I made into this tech firm with the mindset scorecards that we sell. My daughter and the other two, so all three of them that are the partners, they're all under 40. And I'm 66. And they make a joke and they say, we don't need AI. Kev's our AI. When it comes to strategy, creativity, innovation, finding the new things that can improve the business, I am not like an average person of my age. Plus, they say, where do you get the energy from? And I can only put it down to having this mindset that I'm going to live longer. So therefore, when it comes to business as a 66-year-old, I'm not thinking like, oh, consolidate, be cautious. Okay, I'm going big and bold. So therefore, I'm able to drive the business faster, easier, cheaper, and better because I'm not thinking like a consolidator. I'm not embarrassed to sit at the table with them, and I'm not their mentor. I'm very, very active in the business. I've got my own responsibilities, and they're not responsibilities of some sort of old, non-executive chairman. I'm actually in the trenches. So that's on the work side. And then, God's been good to me on the health side too. So I put a bit of investment every year to have certain things checked inside. I exercise. I make sure that I eat properly. I check those things like, am I on purpose here? I check the money situation. I make sure I'm using my time where I enjoy it. Okay. I obviously make 100% sure that got clients I want to be involved with, business people, so on and so forth. I must also say, I'm not an expert at it. I'm a practitioner and a student.
And that's a wonderful mindset to have.
Yes.
So what would the benefits be to veterans if they would join the 8 Health Freedoms initiative?
First of all, up front, it's going to be free. Secondly, we use WhatsApp and Zoom so they can do it at their own pace, their own time. So there's no one's going to be embarrassed on that. They can give it to their extended family if they want to. And they're basically going to get the same things that I've just mentioned. Plus, I'd say also what I've discovered is that I've got tremendous muscle memory as a 66-year-old when it comes to having a beginner's mind. People have said, Kev, it's incredible, the beginner's mind that you have. So I'm not like a closed book. I'm very open-minded about things.
Curiosity that you display in all your engagements with us and other veterans.
Yes, I would say that, I'm curious, I'm transformational, I'm not always looking at how to improve the old, but instead rather substitute it with something that's better than what came before. In other words, something new.
Yes, this is an amazing initiative, and thank you for inviting all of us to join and to participate. And I would like to invite everybody to participate. And I'm also going to join this more actively. I've been more passive up to now, but I can see the benefits that you can derive from that. So thank you very much for your time and offering that to everybody.
Fantastic. Just one thing on like a more practical note is that when you view this video, you'll see at the bottom, obviously the PDF of the 8 freedoms. So that'll give you a feel for, what we're going to be going through. Once again, I want to stress it's free. Okay. And then also what I want to mention to you is that the WhatsApp link will be there. Okay. So at any time during the quarter, you can click. It's just that I won't allow you in actually to WhatsApp because this thing goes from the beginning of the quarter to the end of the quarter. But you'll be pending there. And as soon as the new quarter comes up, then obviously I'll let everyone in, if that makes sense.
Evan, thank you very much
Okay,
for sharing this initiative with us.
it's a pleasure.